Hey all, Christina Pulver here with Forza One Volleyball, and I am sitting with head coach Tom Hanna from Akron University in Ohio, part of the MAC conference. How are you today?
Good. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what are you guys doing to stay connected with your team right now?
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting time for everybody, and I think we're similar to other programs are doing. We are meeting as a group once a week on Zoom. We're really trying not to overwhelm them. They've already got a lot to contend with all their classes moving online, and I think some professors, really kind of piling some stuff on. They feel like the kids have got some time, and they're really piling on the workload as we come down the home stretch here. So we've been meeting once a week as a group. Our weekly meeting is tomorrow. This week we actually added a meeting. We had the opportunity to talk to Dustin Watton from the U.S. men's national team and pro player. So he was with us on Monday. And then tomorrow we'll do our weekly catch up with everybody, just see how everybody's doing. One element we added to it is that I'm a big fan of John Gordon, the author, and he does his Power of the Positive Summit in April. So we assigned everybody on the team a day, and they had to pick a speaker that they'll present to us. So we have two presentations tomorrow. And then actually tomorrow we're going to have a special guest, Damon West, who co-authored The Coffee Bean with John Gordon, was selected by one of our players who presented last week, and we're lucky enough to get Damon to join us tomorrow for about 20 minutes. So I always love adding an outside voice or somebody else's opinion, but we're trying not to kill them with multiple meetings a week and video review, because unfortunately if we do video review, we can't go in the gym and work with them on it. So I haven't been comfortable with throwing too much at them, but just trying to catch up once a week, and then they're doing on their own a Zoom call as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're all just getting creative right now, right? But I love the idea of bringing in some guest speakers. We're trying to do the same thing at Forza, just provide new perspectives when we can, and yeah, take control of what we can and getting creative.
Exactly.
So you and I met when you were back at Marist. Why don't you give us a little rundown of your what led you to Akron, and give us some details of your coaching experience.
Yeah, we won't go through all that because as I always say, I'm old and I've done this for a little while. But yeah, I ended up at the University of Akron 5 years ago. Was at Marist, which was a great experience. For me, it was my alma mater, so it was where I kind of got started coaching. Somebody was, fortunate enough, I got taken under their wing as an undergraduate to work with the women's program while I started the men's team. So I kind of did this 4-year internship in coaching, for lack of a better term. And from there, I had opportunities. I went on to East Stroudsburg with the men and the women, to Ferris State, and did some time with the national team, with the men mostly in 94, 95, leading up to the Atlanta Olympics. Ended up at Ferris State, to Bowling Green. And then interestingly enough, actually, I was getting out of coaching, moved back to New Jersey, and ended up with a friend of mine. I ended up taking over the Rutgers Newark program that December. So I worked with him in the 2000 season, which was nice to get back into the men's game. And then I was out for 6 years until the Marist opportunity came along, and had been helping them vet candidates. And all of a sudden I became the candidate, and, had 9 years there where we turned the program around, and Akron just kind of came up as maybe another interesting challenge to build something and see what I could do with it. And here I am. It's been great, for us to try to navigate, turning this program around. And we finally, I think, turned the corner last year. So it's been exciting.
Yeah, no, awesome. So tell us a little bit about the overall level of Akron, and maybe if you can compare it to some California schools. It's a D1 program, but I don't know if a lot of our players, know the level of play and how competitive it is.
Sure. I mean, we ended up in the RPI somewhere around 160 this year. We were in the low 100s, if that's, barometer that people use. We had the chance to go out to your end of the world 2 years ago. We actually practiced in your gym. Now that I think about it, we were fortunate. We went out to Fullerton, and we did beat Fullerton in 5 on their floor, which was a nice opportunity. And then we didn't play anybody else from out in your backyard on that trip. So I don't know if that's a barometer.
Yeah.
we're in that top half. The MAC conference has been one that has traditionally competed for at-large bids. There have been years where we've had one and as many as three teams get an at-large bid. It's
Mm-hmm.
extremely competitive conference.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And, I think you bring a lot to the table with the way you're able to build relationships. And, I think you're an excellent recruiter. Tell us a little bit about why players like to play for you.
Ooh, that's a great question. I might be the wrong person to answer that, but I like to think that, I like to think that we communicate pretty well, and that whether it's in the recruiting process or when they arrive, that they know what we're expecting out of them, that in that communication, we're consistent with what we want to do, how we want to do it, and expectations don't vacillate or change with my mood or demeanor. If I say, you ask me a question on Tuesday and the answer is blue, and you ask me that same question a week from Thursday, the answer should still be blue. It shouldn't be green. So I like to think we're pretty consistent. We like to, we're teachers. And we're trying to teach in a variety of ways on and off the court. So we're trying to have their back, and I think being consistent is part of that. They need to know what they're getting from us on a day-to-day basis, and that ultimately we're on their side. We're trying to make them better. We're trying to make the group better. So hopefully those are things that kind of come through to kids when we're recruiting them, but also when they get here. One of the questions we ask the freshmen multiple times during their freshman year is, the experience that you're going through now, is it what we talked to you about in recruiting? And I've been very fortunate over the last however many years, since 2006, that I get a positive response to that. Because again, I don't want to deliver this message and then give you a different reality. That's not what we're trying to do here. So I think we're consistent in following through with what we say is important, how we're going to do it, that what we talk to you about in recruiting is the experience you're going to have with us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I see that to be true with you. And I think that's what the players will say too. I think it's important because, some people are really, really good recruiters, but maybe not able to really paint that clear picture of what it's like to play for them in the gym as well. So tell me, why would someone choose Akron? What makes Akron itself as an institution special?
As an institution, I think one thing is we have a ton of different majors to offer. We have literally just about 200 undergraduate programs. So there's variety, and there's that margin of error, that safety net. If I choose something and I end up deciding to go a different direction, we usually have that. And at my last institution, we had about 38 majors. So that's, if you decide to change, we might not have what you were looking for. And here, we've got a wide variety of offerings. We have, we're a very strong STEM school. Really love our College of Business Administration, the marketing program in particular. And we also have a neat program that one of our players is the first student athlete to hopefully enter this program. We have a very good law school, and we have what's called the 3+3 program, which started a few years ago. So our young lady, possibly this coming fall, and what would be her senior year, will be starting her first year of law school. So you do 3 years undergraduate, 3 years law school, get in and out in 6 years. And in the case of a student athlete, we're paying for that first year of law school.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good opportunity. So I think we have some neat opportunities there. And especially in the engineering fields, we have about 13 different engineering programs that are tremendous. I believe we are one of only 2 Division I schools to offer aeronautical engineering. The other one is the Air Force Academy. So we've got a couple of things that are neat. We've got a great biomedical engineering program in particular. So we have some great areas like that hopefully appeal to prospective student athletes.
Yeah. Now, how close are you to a city?
So we are barely 35, 40 minutes to downtown Cleveland. Akron itself is a small city. As you know, I grew up not far from New York City. So if you don't have 30 million people, I'm not sure it's a city. But we're downtown Cleveland, 35 to 40 minutes. So our kids go to a Cavs game here and there. We've had kids go to Cleveland Browns games late in the year when we're out of season. I went up with my daughter to see Hamilton to play. Stuff like that. So all that is available pretty close by.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So in terms of the academics, let's go back to that for a minute. In terms of how difficult it is to get in, GPA, on your roster, what do you like the academics to look at with GPA and test scores?
On my roster is completely different than I would say the admission standards are.
Okay.
Um, I'm a big advocate of having smart people in your gym makes things a lot easier. So you look at our kids and on a roster next year of 16 players, I'm going to guess we're going to have 8, 9, maybe 10 that are in the honors college. Last year our team GPA was a 3.54, I think, both semesters.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I was not happy with that. So if that tells you where our standard is, I'm hoping that we're in the 3.6 range or higher. We actually had a semester 2 years ago in the spring. This was crazy. As a team, we were a 3.85.
That's awesome.
A 3.85. We had 2 fifth-year seniors in biomedical engineering. And as a team of whatever it was, 14 kids at a 3.85. So our expectations are pretty high. In terms of admissibility, I think we're looking down in the 3.32 range, 21 ACT, but our team, I would say we're probably more of a 26 to 28 ACT, high school grades, 3.75, 3.8. We've got a couple of 4.0s coming that are here as well. So.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so then when they're on the road, you guys, travel quite a bit. Is the institution, academics and athletes, do they work closely? Are they supportive of the athletes at your school?
Yeah, we've had a really positive experience in the 5 years that I've been here. And I think part of it again goes back to you recruit smart kids who manage their business, and that makes it easier. And we get on the bus and it's always kind of entertaining. Literally, you get on the bus on a Thursday night after practice and we're heading somewhere, and I would say 40 to 50% of the bus cracks open a book, a laptop, they're writing papers. So they manage themselves very well. We have great resources, which fortunately are literally right above our locker room for our student athletes. So if they need some tutoring, they need some mentoring, that's all available. But our kids, again, really do a great job of managing their business. And again, they don't get here by accident. We filter some things out. And if you can't manage your business before when you're in high school, you're probably not our kind of person. And I think that's one of the things in our locker room is you've got a synergy of kids who are doing the right thing, who are high achievers academically, and when they're doing some things, they have opportunities for co-ops or internships, that it starts to raise the level in the room, and it's a synergy where, well, she's doing that, I'd like to do that one day, and that's what's in our locker room right now.
Yeah, no, and then a big question I get from players is what's the athletic culture like at this school? What other big sports are there? Do the athletes intermingle? Talk to us about the culture overall.
Sure. So one of the things that was really interesting to me when I was looking at this opportunity to come over to Akron was, I knew a little bit about Akron soccer. Won a national championship in 2010. When I was younger in high school, I played soccer. Goalkeeper from my high school came here and led them to a national runner-up finish. So I knew some of the soccer stuff. But in one word, it's Akron Athletic Department's champions. There have been NCAA champions in pole vault, in rifle, in men's soccer. Since I've been here, we've had a world champion in the pole vault.
Wow.
After their junior year. We had an Olympic medalist in the last Olympic Games after his junior year in the 800 meters. You look around again, our men's soccer team has been in 3 Final Fours in the last 5 years, including 1 national championship appearance. There's a lot of really good things going on. I think last Olympic Games, 7 Olympians, former Zips. So to me, that's the one thing, is it's a high standard. Our men's basketball team this year won the regular season, was hoping, going to move on to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, their season ended. Our rifle team was one of, I think, 5 or 7 teams at the NCAA national championship. Unfortunately, they were in a practice round, and then the NCAA C-Stall championships, and that was the end of that. So we're just surrounded by a lot of greatness, and it's nice when the teams are supporting each other. We've got a MAC swimming team that's won 5 or 6 MAC championships in a row, and they come out and support us. And women's basketball has been good to us, and our kids are out at football games. A lot of MAC football games late in the year on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. So I'll be home working on video and have a game on, and I see our kids in the stands, and I'll pause it and take a picture and shoot it at them in group meet, while they're at the game. And we had women's lacrosse this year, and our kids have had a chance to go out and support them. So there's a good synergy, amongst the student athletes. But it's, again, I just think of, there's a lot of champions running around here, and the bar's pretty high.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How are your facilities? Are they newer, older? Do you share your gym with any other sports?
Sure. So in our facility, which was built, I believe, in 1989, we do share it with both basketballs. We have a weight room right around the corner from the office that's on the other side of the wall from our arena, that was renovated not this past holiday, but the year before. So it's literally 15, 16 months old. That's a weight room that is us, 2 basketball teams, and tennis. It's a great facility. Perfect size for teams, for teams of that size, where we have, again, maybe 16 kids on a roster. It's a beautiful room. Again, easily accessible. Our locker room's at this end of the hallway. My office is here. The weight room's here. The arena's there. The training room's there. So our kids just have one loop that everything operates on. So in our arena, beautiful new scoreboard that's about 2 years old. That's humongous, high quality, great sound. So that's been great. Our intro videos the last 2 years have been a lot of fun, and just a great presentation. In terms of training day to day, we've got 3 courts, and we've got probably about 15 feet between courts. So we actually have to have special nets from Sports Import, because from the sideline to the pole is a little further. We have a ton of space, and we have a ton of space behind us on each end line. So if we're going 3 courts across, we can be doing stuff, and we're not transitioning into the other court that's training over here. We've got tons of room to serve. We've got tons of room to pursue a ball when we have to in our 6-on-6. So we've got great space. Then across the street, we're not there very often, but we have a beautiful field house that has a full indoor track, which has actually hosted the Ohio High School State Indoor Track Championships. Large weight room, training room, and all that. We're typically not over the games. We have a beautiful facility, weight room right in our facility. But we have access to that literally just across the street, especially if they're trying to maybe change up pace and they do, strong woman contests. They're going to start flipping tires and stuff like that. They'll go over there. So we've got some great facilities, and it's really interesting. Typically, female athletes' facilities are important, but it's usually not in the top 2 or 3 things in their list. But when we have kids visit, they walk away, and the feedback we get from people like yourself is, man, their facilities were great, that they mentioned that to their club directors, recruiting coordinators, coaches. So I found that pretty early, that our facilities really go over well with kids.
Yeah. And, it may not be a deciding factor, but, when those freshmen get on campus and they're around those gorgeous facilities you have in your top-notch weight room, like it makes a difference. Like it
tips the scale. Yeah. It moves the needle a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And then what's your theory or preference in terms of who they live with freshman year and moving forward? Are they living on campus in the dorms? And if so, for how many years?
Sure. So we moved, I think, 2 years ago, to our scholarship athletes remain on campus for their first 2 years. And we actually have put them together. I was back and forth on that concept when I arrived, and it was what they've been doing before. And I just sat down with some of the returners and said, hey, give me the reasons you liked it. Give me the reasons you didn't like it. What, if you could do it over again, would you want that setup with a teammate? Would you want to live in Spicer Hall? If not, where would you want to live? And all across the board, they wanted to live with their teammates. They thought that was great for the transition, and they wanted to stay in Spicer Hall. So that's what we've done. We put them together. I think the biggest benefit is they're on the same schedule. You don't have a roommate who's a night owl, maybe, and you're on a certain schedule, and we practice at a certain time, which dictates classes at a certain time. You eat meals at a certain time. Then someone who's on schedule with you. I think that's huge. The other thing I say to kids, and I don't know that it always resonates, but I say misery loves company. You're going through this together. You're both volleyball players. It's not you and somebody who's not a student athlete or, is just not involved in any outside activities. The person in your room is going through what you're going through. They're away from home. They're playing collegiate volleyball for the first time. And Coach Hanna says trap, and he goes like that. And I have no idea what he's talking about. I know we covered it the other day, but he said we're in mod, and I don't remember what mod is. Like, they're all going through that together. So I think there's that misery loves company. They can help lift each other up. And hey, sometimes I have a good day and sometimes you don't, and I can, help you remember what mod is, or I'll try to support you tomorrow. And hey, if I see your disposition starting to change, I got your back. I'm just going to, tell you to smile, and that would be your cue to, hey, you're maybe not in a great place. And I think there's a little bit of an element of that they're going through it together. That's really helpful. And then after freshman year, they live with whoever they want, wherever they want, and they all live with each other. Every now and again, I think we've had kids where they've had one soccer. There's been 3 of them and a soccer player, or 3 of them and a golfer. Mm-hmm. But we haven't had kids who have completely deviated away from their teammates at all, which is, to me, that's always awesome.
Yeah, no. So what do they do when they're not playing volleyball on the weekends in Akron?
Again, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm bad at that. They're doing the right thing, hopefully, because that's one of our little mottos. I think there's enough programming on campus to keep them entertained. There's enough things to do. If you draw a 15, 20-minute radius around our campus, you go down this way and you're in suburbia. It's strip malls. It's every chain, it's Target, it's Best Buy, it's, 15 different restaurants, all that kind of thing. 5 minutes that way and you're on, a county park, and you're hiking the trails and little waterfalls and things like that. Go over that way 15, 20 minutes. It gets real rural real fast. Okay. So and then you go up here 35, 40 minutes, you're in Cleveland. So there's a lot of different options. We have a number of kids who are from Northeast Ohio who live, 20 to 60 minutes from campus. So sometimes it's kids are going home with them, or they're exploring with them, because those kids know, where to go, so to speak. And we're going to go to that mall, not that mall, because it has that store or whatever. But they keep themselves occupied. I've never heard anybody complain of boredom.
Yeah, no, I've heard your camp. There's a lot to do. And I think as long as you got that strip mall with the Target and Starbucks and maybe a Panera or a Chick-fil-A.
Yep. It has all those. And I'm going to put in my plug. I believe we have 2 Chick-fil-A's on campus. So perfect. We have kids who are always impressed with that when they come visit us.
Yeah. I haven't asked the other coaches this, but it's funny how the meal plan, that's not something recruits may ask, the college coaches, but they always ask me, do you know what the meal plan is like? What's the food like on campus?
Right. And it's interesting. We have a nice cafeteria set up. They renovated it about 2 years ago, and they expanded the salad bar, which was a nice change. But we also renovated in our student union this one food area at the end, and it now has a Chick-fil-A, a Panda Express, Qdoba, Aunt Annie's Pretzels. Starbucks is at the other end, and midway through there's an Einstein Bagel that's also part of a marketplace that has a grill, another salad bar, pizza, calzone, like anything you want is right. Prepackaged sushi, and then a sushi station.
Yeah.
And again, we have like 3 or 4 Starbucks on campus, 2 Chick-fil-A's, a couple of Subways. You can't go too far without tripping over food on our campus. And again, you go to the student union, and it's really interesting when we added the Qdoba, the Chick-fil-A, and the Panda Express, the sheer volume of number of people that come through in a half hour is probably the sum total of what went through in a whole day 5 years ago when I first got here. It's crazy, like the difference just putting those places in has been, and luckily I've been good about not eating there every day.
So yeah, no, you've painted Akron's a great school. And I think so, you have the high STEM, you're looking for really academic kids, and you're looking for competitive kids. And generally speaking, when you're out on the trail, what stands out to you? Like, what type of player is going to fit the mold at Akron on your roster?
Again, we're looking for people who manage their business that, again, are high academic. And I think if they're usually high academic, you see on the court somebody who communicates and relates well with their teammates, and more impressively, their coaches. I love seeing, especially, say, setters who are having ongoing dialogue with their coach, and you can see give and take going on and some growth, development, mature conversation, not eye rolling or avoiding the coach every time we come into a huddle. I'm going to get the furthest possible point. Kids that are highly engaged. I think that's what comes again with the benefit of recruiting, smarter student athletes. So some of those intangibles I think shine through. And if you see that in a young lady on the court, and then you start talking to somebody about it, I'm like, oh yeah, she's a 4.0. I could tell that just by how she carries herself.
Okay. Yeah, no. So what else haven't we covered? I would love to get some kids in Akron, and I know you're a fun coach. What else do we need to make sure the recruits know about your school specifically, or about your philosophy as a coach that would make them want to choose Akron over another D1?
Sure. I mean, I think a couple of things, and we're trying to look beyond volleyball. I know that's kind of tough maybe when you're 16, 17, you want to hear all about the volleyball, and that's great. And I tell our kids, hey, that 3 or 4 hours we block out every day for volleyball, that is the most important thing we're doing. But the other 20, 21 hours of the day, you've got to be good at something else. And, one of the theories I have is we have to get you off your parents' payroll. You've got to be good at something. And unfortunately, there's only about 300 odd US females a year who play professionally. We'll call it professionally. Many of them are over in England, usually about 10% of that number, and they're going to graduate school effectively for free. I get it, but they're not making a salary. They're not paid professionals. There's not enough people making a living playing volleyball. So we're going to probably have to be pretty good at something else. So I think we're pretty good about big picture that we have to serve your needs with what we have to offer academically, because that's going to pay your bills. And then when you're in our gym, hey, we want to be good at volleyball, but we're also want to be making sure we're teaching big picture life lessons. And we work on leadership and leadership development and communication. And again, we do a lot of outside speakers. We bring in, a company called Human X works with our kids. I like an outside voice. I like outside expertise. So it's not just whatever I have to say or think. That's part of what's going on there. We try to give our staff a voice. Again, I think I said at the beginning, I'd like to think if you come play at Akron that you hopefully truly know we have your back. We are on your side. And this full well. A lot of times in the recruiting process, you'll hear what you want to hear, and then you get there and you experience something else. Mm. And I'm very conscious of that we're trying to deliver what we talk to you about in recruiting. And understand again that if you're not performing well right now, volleyball wise, or academically or socially, it's partially on us to help you with that. So if you can't hit an out of system ball on the left side, or you're struggling with chemistry, our job is to support you and help you. It's not, hey, you're not good at that, maybe it's time for you to transfer. Because if you're not good at it, then I've got to be better at coaching it. My staff has to be better at coaching it. You're going to have to own your part of it. But it's not, well, you're not very good. We thought you were good. Get out of here. If you're not as good as we thought you were, that's partially on us. I'm going to share that responsibility, and let's figure it out. So again, we have your back. Let's figure this thing out together.
You brought up an interesting point too, like some of the mental pressures. You're really perceptive, I think, with people, and if you notice someone, doing the down smile, what do you do, or what does Akron offer on the mental side of athletics?
Sure. So last week, actually, in our team Zoom meeting, we had Dr. Sam, one of our sports psychologists on staff, joined our group to give them some insights and, hey, here's some ways you can get through this current pandemic and things we're dealing with, and what they're up against, and how they're, how we can, maybe get through this all together. So we have, Sam and Zach are available to our kids. Individual meetings, those meetings are private. I don't know who meets with them. I don't get a report. It's complete privacy. The only time I know something about it is when one of our student athletes says, hey, I was just talking to Sam about that the other day, and he gave me this strategy. Great. And now you share with me. Now I can encourage your use of that strategy. But I don't go looking around for, hey, who's going to Sam? And we also reminding them we have those services available. You have things happen where, hey, someone on your team has someone close to them pass away. And we had to deal with a situation like that 2 years ago. where we had 4 of our players came from a club where unfortunately the director had committed suicide. And that's pretty heavy, and we had, resources to help our kids get through that. So, and obviously in terms of their performance, we also have them available to enhance their performance. There are times where we get to do a little bit more of that in preseason or off season, and maybe it kind of isn't a focal point in season as much as we'd like it to be, but we do have 2 guys on staff and try to use them as much as we can. And again, other resources that are out there, I'll try to, maybe spend a few minutes with our team on, hey, here's a strategy that maybe we can do when we make that serve receive error. We've got 6 or 8 seconds to reset ourselves before the next ball is coming, and it's coming to you. Mm-hmm. So what can we do? So if we see something, we might try to spend a few minutes on it, but we literally have 2 people on staff that's their expertise, and I try to defer to them.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think something that really sets apart, college athletics from college athletics is you guys are in your office and available on campus pretty much every day. And so you're spending, several hours, obviously a day with these athletes, but the one-on-one meetings that you're able to offer, and even the one-on-one trainings in a typical spring, right, is awesome. The amount of time you get to really impact and affect them. And that may, you may spend more time with certain players and your assistant coaches may spend more time with certain players. But
sure.
In general, how often do you like to have the one-on-one or, you and your staff with the one player meetings?
Sure. One of my big things is I try not to force those. As soon as I say, hey, can you meet in my office at 2:00? Anxiety level up here. Hey, mom, coach wants to see me. Hey, why does she want to talk? So I like to have a lot of, I kind of call them hit and runs or in passing.
Okay.
I'll walk into practice early and I'll bend somebody's ear for 3-4 minutes, or I'll, they're stretching and they're right there, or they're warming up their arm and I'll stand off their shoulder. So I'll try to do a bunch of quick hitters that way.
Okay.
And when we need those longer, hey, let's come in and talk about something, I'm all in favor of it. And there are times where I like to say, hey, I'd like to catch up with you about whatever. Mm-hmm. When do you want to do it? Where do you want to do it? It doesn't have to be my office. I can meet you in the union. We can grab a coffee and put them in an environment where they're more comfortable. Because as soon as you say, hey, come to my office,
yeah,
the guard is up. And, I don't know that we have a regular schedule for that. So I know we don't have a regular schedule for that. So it's kind of hit or miss. And sometimes it's, more positional meetings. And then when that positional meeting breaks, that one young lady may stay behind. Yeah. And, hey, just so you know, I'm struggling with this today. Or, hey, I know we're assistant swings here, but, can I get a little bit more work after that? And they may just hang back and do that. Because one of my things, again, is I don't want to pressure them. I don't want to force them into a corner. I can't force the relationship.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old. I'm a guy. I'm not a 17-year-old female. I try to be aware of that. I always talk to our group about, hey, you want to go grab a cup of coffee? You want to grab lunch in the union? Let me know. I'm there.
Yeah. No, and I bring that up because I think, there is such a wide range of coaching philosophies. And, some coaches, just like bosses in the future, are going to be a lot more hands-on and want to know every little aspect of your life and what you're doing on the weekends and who you're dating and are you in a relationship. And then there's going to be the coaches that really look for more of an independent, mature person that doesn't need a lot of hands-on or want a lot of hands-on. And, I've always seen you as, you're very approachable, but you definitely, you want, players to also have their own lives and you don't need to know all the details. If they need, they're going to come to you. And guess what? You're going to give fabulous advice. So really, I see that and getting to know you over the years, that's more you. And I like that. But, the coaches are all, very different and unique within themselves. So that's really like the point of all these calls. And, I'm asking kind of a lot of the same questions and getting a wide array of answers.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I like the independence, but I would love to be involved in your life, but up to the point that you decide.
Yeah.
I always say I'm on the don't ask, don't tell program. I'm not going to usually ask you about your boyfriend or whatever. Unless it becomes a group thing where everybody's picking on you, then I'll probably join in.
Yeah, yeah.
I like to poke and needle, but I'm on the Don't Ask, Don't Tell program. And then there's kids who are dating somebody seriously and they come around a lot. And now I get to know them, and that's fine. I had a player a number of years ago, when I was back in New York, and her father had passed away the year before. And I was told, well, hey, she's not going to go that far. She's going to stay close to home. And she ended up coming to play for us and was a conference player of the year and won 2 regular season titles and all this and all that. And everybody assumed that I filled that fatherly role for her. And it was 180 degrees the other way. The number of times we talked about her father in 4 years, you could maybe count on one hand, because that was not what she brought to me. If that's what she needed from me, I got you. What do you need? I'll serve you. It's not what she brought to me, so that's not what our relationship was about. If that's what she needed, I would have gladly helped. But it was funny how everybody's perception was, well, hey, you're going to be the father figure. And I would gladly have done that for her, but that was not what she needed. And other kids, that's what they need.
Yeah.
Again, I'm the term servant leader, I think I fall under that. And it's funny just because that's who I am. And, that wasn't a term until the last few years, but that's just who I am. And I don't know a different way to roll.
Yeah, no. How important is social media in this day and age with recruiting?
I think it's pretty important. And I say that being probably on the wrong mediums at this point. Like I'm not on Instagram. As a program, we're maybe not as active there as we should be. And that's something that needs to change. I'm a big Twitter guy, and I think it's a good way to get information out there and give people little looks into your world. But I think it's an area we can be better at. But it's certainly, I think, if you were to follow me or any other head coach on Twitter, I think you start to get a feel for what they're about and what their program's about if you watch long enough.
Yeah.
You can't follow them for a week or two and then.
You're always one of my first likes when I post from Forza.
I appreciate. I try, and like someone like yourself, who we have a good relationship with, enjoy being around. I want to make sure we're supporting them and all the good things that you and your organization are doing. But because again, it's easy to like good people who are doing good things, and eventually, we haven't had any players from your program yet. Hopefully that changes. I tried once. I tried really hard for somebody, but it doesn't work out, and that's okay. It's what's good for a young lady, and what's if it's not a perfect fit for both sides, that's a relationship that doesn't have to be. And
that's right. Well, no, I really appreciate you taking the time today. And next time you're out west, we'd love to have you at Forza, and we'll do our best to get is it a zip?
Zip.
Zip. What is a zip?
What is a zip? That is what we go to one arena or 2 arenas every year where that is the chant from the home team crowd is, what is a zip? So a zip is short for zippers, and I forget what it was in the 40s or 50s. The rubber industry is what Akron's all about. So all the tire companies are major players in the area, Goodyear, and so on. One of the things back in the 40s or 50s was galoshes, which nobody wears anymore. Little rubber boots that you put over your dress shoes and you zip up. So zips was short for zippers because that was a big thing in the area around here. And then it parlayed into our mascot is a kangaroo called Zippy, because a kangaroo has a pouch. And we have a female mascot. Zippy is a female. She has a pouch, and Zipper, Zippy.
Awesome. All right. There it is.
There's your history lesson for today.
Thank you. Thanks again, Tom. And
Thank you.
We'll be talking soon. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.